Okay, so this book is called The Right Word, and it's Roget and the Thesaurus, and it's by Jen Bryant and Melissa Sweet. I've got a lot of books by these two folks, and I want to point out something about this book. So it's a Caldicott, it's a silver medal, which means it was like a runner-up. But then it also has this award, which is the Seabird Award, and this is a book that's basically got an award for good nonfiction and usually science. So the first thing I notice when I look up is that these are pictures that are very different. They look like they maybe have been clipped and pasted on. And then I'm seeing that this looks like old-fashioned paper. And then this right here looks like old-fashioned printing. So here we go. So this too, like one of the other books I read, is also a nonfiction book, meaning it's a true story. Peter snuggled deep into his uncle's lap as the carriage clattered through the valleys of Switzerland. Baby Annette slept in mother's arms as small pink blossoms against a wall of black. So one thing I notice right away is the text is going down. It's not going across. So this book right away is kind of breaking rules. And of course, Ms. B kind of loves that. Father wasn't coming back. Peter knew it. Mother's dark dress and uncle's sadness proved it. Years later, when Peter began his list, Father's death came first. So what this tells me is probably Peter's father died. Mother is wearing black. I'm having to infer, but I'm guessing that that's correct. Peter's family moved often, so making friends was difficult. But books, Peter discovered, were also good friends. There are always plenty of them around, and he never had to leave them behind. When he was 8, he started to write his own book. On the cover, he wrote Peter Marc Roget, his book. But instead of writing stories, he wrote lists. At first, he made lists of all the Latin words he learned from his tutor. Next to it, he wrote their English meanings. So Sorex means rat, Leo means lion, Ursus means bear, Tigris means tiger, Porcus is hog, Elephas is elephant, and Bulbus is fox. And I love the way the letters look. I love the illustration. For me, this is just a really creative book. The lists helped him remember his lessons. They also gave him something to do when Mother peppered him with questions. Peter, you're pale. Do you need some air? Mon cher, you need a nap. Oh, Peter, won't you eat something? Mama, I'm fine. Although, to be honest, Peter thought fine wasn't quite the right word. He could say glad, cheerful, well, very good, dandy, never better, splendid. So he's saying fine, but he's thinking all of this. Every year, Peter added new lists to his books. Some of the favorites were the 4 elements of the weather and in the garden. His mother complained that Peter was always scribbling. And when we see this, we see all of this art that's on here. And I'm just seeing list upon list. But Peter's word lists were not just scribbles. Words Peter learned were powerful things. And when he put them in a long, neat rows, he felt as if the world itself clicked into order. So I just made an aha. Peter is making lists, and then sometimes the text is in a list. That is very clever to write a book. Teenage Peter was tall, thin, and very shy. He spent hours reading science books. He especially liked one written by Linnaeus, a man who made lists just like Peter did. Linnaeus put the names of animals and plants into categories, and they made nature much easier to study. Just as Linnaeus had wandered through the garden in Sweden, Peter wandered through the London parks, making lists of all the plants and insects. He preferred to wander alone. And in the back, I'm seeing lists of words that are written in green. So much about this book is so creative, but Mother didn't approve. Perhaps worry wasn't quite the right word. What was the right word? Peter began a new list. Worry, fret, grief, intrude, badger, annoy, plague, provoke, harass, enough to drive one mad. All of these words are basically the same thing as worry. If only all the ideas in the world could be found in one place, then everyone would have one book where they could find the best word, the one that really fit. Peter carried this idea with him like a secret treasure. And oh, look at this book. It's made to look like all the secrets of the universe are inside. It's delightful. In 1793, the Rogers moved to Edinburgh, Scotland, where Peter entered medical school. For the next 5 years, Peter studied hard. He was only 19 when he graduated. His uncle warned him that he was too young to become a doctor. What could he do in the meantime? He could teach math, science, and French. He could tutor. Then he met a wealthy man with 2 teenage sons. In Paris, Peter and the boys were never short of things to do or places to go. They even saw Napoleon lead his troops through the city. The soldiers marched lockstep in long, orderly rows, just like the lists in Peter's books. Finally, Peter was old enough to be a doctor. His first job was in Manchester, England. The people who worked in the factories there were poor and often sick. Peter tried his best to keep them healthy. At night, he worked on his lists. In 1805, Peter finished his first big book of word lists. It had about 100 pages, 1,000 ideas, and listed more than 15,000 words. He kept it on his desk so that he could find just the right word whenever he needed it. When Peter moved back to London, he joined science societies and attended lectures given by famous thinkers and inventors. Before long, he was asked to give lectures too. But could he do it? Could shy Peter Roget face a crowded room and talk about what he knew? Yes, he could. With his book in hand, Peter spoke concisely, with clarity and conviction. And all of these are scientists who are going, oh, he's astonishing. He's doing a wonderful job. When he was 45 years old, Peter married Mary Hobson. She was cheerful, smart, and pretty. She made Peter laugh, and they had a daughter, Kate, and a son, John. Peter remained naturally shy, but now he had many friends. As he grew older, Peter spent less time visiting patients. He would always be Dr. Roget, but now he played chess, took walks, and read books. And of course, he worked on his lists. So the again and again is this idea of lists. It's happening over and over to show us how important these lists are to Peter. By the time a few other writers had published their own word lists, these books helped people speak and to write more politely. Peter read them all. Kate and John read them too. They thought their father's book was much better. Peter agreed. For the next 3 years, he worked on his book of word lists. Then he'd written A Young Doctor. He made it larger, more organized, and easier to use. He says, I want everyone to be able to use my word book, not just doctors, politicians, lawyers, but cobblers, fishmongers, and factory workers. So this is kind of a contrast and contradiction. What he's saying here is that he doesn't want just the educated people to be able to use his word list. He wants cobblers and fishmongers. These are everyday people, okay? So he wants everyone to be able to use his book. Long ago, Peter had discovered the power of words. Now he believed that everyone should have this power. Everyone should be able to find the right word whenever they needed it. So instead of just saying dark, you could say darkness, night, dark as pitch, dimness, glimmer. So all these wonderful ways of expressing the written language. In 1852, Roget published his thesaurus. Oh, I know what thesauruses are. A word that means treasure house in Greek. I think that's a wonderful, I never knew that. That's an aha. So a thesaurus is a book that I go to when I need just the right word. And that book literally means treasure house. That's lovely. People snatched it from the shelves like a new kind of candy. The first 1,000 copies sold out quickly. Peter was suddenly a popular author, but this did not change him at all. Instead, he went right back to his desk and made new lists. And you guys, I don't know if you noticed this, but the roof is made of a list of paper. Just so clever, these illustrations. So that today, whenever you need it, you can still find the right word. And look at this page, just full of lovely different bits of art. And then in the back, this is more information on different people and different, you guys, I think this is his actual list that he made. So it's just full of wonderful pictures. I love it. Look at this, all these lists. So again, what you guys will be doing is, again, you'll be doing the story analysis, thinking about the characters, the setting, the conflict, the turning point, all those things. And then you'll be analyzing the art. And once again, you'll be deciding whether or not you think this book deserves a Caldicott. Okay, I will stop there. Have a good day.